Yo, what is up guys, Delboy here. So Efe Ajagba went for distance in a 10-round fight with Ali Demirezen, and after this fight, from what I saw online, Efe Ajagba was subject to a lot of criticism, which I understand. He did show certain flaws and holes in his game against Demirezen, but, like usual, I think a lot of boxing fans get very carried away when something like this happens. Ultimately, Efe Ajagba is still a prospect. He's only 11-0, and let's be honest, he was in there with a fellow unbeaten prospect, a guy in Demirezen who had a good amateur background and who was a solid test for a prospect. Demirezen, in hindsight, may actually be better than any of us really thought. So first and foremost, you've got to take that into account. Maybe Demirezen is just better than we all realised. That could be the case. And not only that, there was some positive aspects to Ajagba's performance in this fight. First and foremost, I enjoyed the variety. He's a big tall guy, but he can throw short shots on the inside, uppercuts up close, he can work the body, particularly with that left hook. He's got a nice 1-2. Listen, he's got good variation in his work, and also, for a big man, he can throw a lot of punches. He threw well over 800 punches in a 10-round fight. That's quite impressive for a heavyweight. So listen, there were aspects of his performance that were good. Now granted, yes, there were flaws. Up close, I felt Ajagba shipped a bit too much punishment. On the inside, he was getting outworked and he was getting out-hustled. I mentioned this in the past in the Michael Wallace fight. Go back and look at my post-fight video. When somebody's on Efe Ajagba's chest, I speculated going forwards that, that might be the style that Ajagba struggles with, or one of the styles he struggles with. On the inside, defensively, Ajagba certainly has flaws, and I saw that a little while ago. But, like I said earlier, it doesn't mean to say he can't improve those flaws, and it doesn't mean to say he's not got a lot of good attributes going for him. I mean, ultimately, I think some people are being too quick to write this guy off. If you believe his official age, he's 26 years old. Now, potentially, he could be older than that, but let's take it for gospel. Let's say he really is 26 years old. In that case, he's got time left, and he's only 11-0. He can still improve, he can still get better, and he can actually improve on the things he does well. People act like heavyweight prospects, or prospects in general, can't struggle on the way up. A lot of prospects do. A lot of prospects have fights where they don't look so good. Doesn't mean they're not good prospects, doesn't mean they can't get any better, doesn't mean they can't develop into being very good fighters. One fight doesn't define your career, one fight doesn't define your future. A bad performance can lead to improvements. A bad performance could be a wake-up call and push a guy to improve even further. It can go one of two ways. Doesn't have to be negative. And listen, if you followed the heavyweight division, a lot of these guys who are relevant now had fights on the come-up where they didn't look too hot. I mean, I followed Tyson Fury's career from literally day one, and he struggled with guys like Nevin Pajkic, got dropped in that fight, got badly hurt by Nikolai Furfer. He got a gift decision against John McDermott in their first fight. Tyson Fury on the come-up had several fights where he struggled and didn't look too good. And if you said back then Tyson Fury would go on to beat Klitschko, you would be laughed at. Sometimes we can be a bit guilty of writing these prospects off a bit too early. I actually remember Andy Ruiz on the come-up, and in 2013 he picked up a really good win against a fellow prospect called Joe Hanks. Now, Joe Hanks may not mean much now, but back then he was seen as a bit of a prospect, and Ruiz destroyed him, and then the hype for Ruiz at that time was real. A lot of people back then were saying Ruiz was the truth, but in his next fight, he fought a guy called Tor Hammer. Now, he beat Tor Hammer and made him retire on his stool, but in that fight, Ruiz's defence was terrible, and he was getting hit with so many punches, and, it put people off Andy Ruiz for a little while. And the fight before, he was getting hyped up. A few years later, look at Ruiz now. Look at Ruiz now. Vladimir Klitschko on the come-up, even after he was a prospect, got upset by guys who he shouldn't be losing to. but he improved, he got better, and he learned from his mistakes and errors. He turned into a great heavyweight champion. My point is, don't be too quick to write off Efe Ajagba. I still believe this guy is one of the better prospects in the heavyweight division. He's got good attributes going for him. He seems very physically strong. He carries decent punching power. He's got good variety, a good gas tank. He appears fairly durable. Demirezen's got a good knockout ratio. And he took Demirezen's shots fairly well. So listen, Ajagba, is he a work in progress? Absolutely. Am I saying this guy is going to be the next coming of George Foreman? Absolutely not. But don't rule this guy out. He's a talented fighter who has potential. He's a raw talent, I would agree, but he has potential nonetheless. You know, sometimes we should be a bit less swift to rule these guys out. I think sometimes we are guilty of writing these guys off a bit too soon. I mean, even Teofimo Lopez the other day, he fought Nakatani and struggled. Doesn't mean he can't go on to be a really good fighter. I think in the foreseeable he needs to make improvements, and maybe the Kome fight could be too soon for him, but regardless, he's got a lot of good attributes: speed, power, explosiveness, and with a few improvements, you know, this guy could go a long way. Again, the guy's very young, and we shouldn't be ruling him out. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents. And again, don't get it twisted. I'm not saying Ajagba is going to rule the division. I'm not saying he is going to become a heavyweight champion, but he certainly got potential. He certainly has talent, and he can go a long way. And as for Demirezen, like I said earlier, he's the same. Yes, he's picked up a loss now, but the fight was fairly close. It was competitive. In fact, I felt it was a lot closer than the scorecards had it. But Demirezen, he can come back. He could be a decent contender. Who knows? Who knows? You know, these guys put it on the line at an early stage in their careers. They put on a good fight, and both guys had success. It was what it was. It was what it was. That's what happens sometimes, especially when you have 2 prospects fighting each other. But, listen, that's just my 2 cents. I am interested to hear your thoughts on this one. What did you make of Efe Ajagba's performance? Are you writing him off now, or do you still see him as a good prospect? Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying it was a great performance. I'm not really trying to sugarcoat it, but I'm just trying to look at it from a less reactionary point of view, because I'm guilty of that sometimes. Sometimes I will, you know, go based off the here and now and what's happened recently, instead of really looking at the guy's whole career, assessing what he's good at and where he can improve. You know, ultimately, time is on Ajagba's side. He's still fairly young. He's still only 11-0. We'll see where he goes. But yeah, share your thoughts below. Tell me what you think. Also, just to shout out a few people, I wanted to shout out my Patreons. I have 3 Patreons: Nadeem, Keith and Matt. Thank you guys very much for showing your support. Greatly appreciated. And if you guys need anything or want me to make any specific videos, let me know, man. Let me know. Drop me a message on Patreon, and I'm sure I can sort something out. Thank you guys very much. And also, just to plug my social media accounts, in the pinned comments I will put my Twitter and also my Instagram. I'm not too active on Instagram, but I do intend on putting more content up on that site eventually. But right now, the content is few and far in between on that social media platform, so bear that in mind. I'm not sure what type of content that I will be uploading on Instagram, obviously boxing related, but yeah, I'm just really figuring out what I want to do with it. But feel free to drop me a follow either on Twitter or Instagram, or ideally both. And obviously, in regards to the topic at hand, I would be interested to hear your thoughts on Efe Ajagba, his future, his fight with Demirezen, and what you expect from him, and also your thoughts on Ali Eren Demirezen. How far do you think he can go? Maybe he can surprise us. Maybe he's a diamond in the rough. Share your thoughts below. As always, it's been Delboy. Peace.